It's that time of evening when I do a little bit of contemplating. Is there something useful I can do? Or should I just sit and feed the fire with firewood? So I wandered up here and looked at what perhaps are the most famous walls in Azay-le-Ferron, contemplating if there is something useful I can do to get these finished and pretty. Now, in general terms, if you're a plasterer and if you have got a decent labourer, most plastering is pretty easy. And I did say if. I'm not a good plasterer, and my labourer, well, if he's not drinking tea, he's playing with cats or putting up Christmas lights or some equally inane project. So I'm not going to say that I find plastering easy, but normally plasterers are slapping plaster onto flat surfaces. You know, if the bricklayer did a good job, and if the carpentry was all square and all of that, you know, it's plain sailing. But this wall is nothing like that. I don't know, I've got to stand out of the light while I film this. If you look, the wall comes up straight to about here, and then it curves, and then it curves back the other way, which thankfully that wall is pretty straight in that direction, but it's got this interesting curve. That of itself is not too much of a problem. I might mix some plaster and attack that tonight. It's, as you can see, it's had its first coat of plaster over the render, and now it wants a decent sort of top coat of plaster. This edge is not going to be quite so straightforward. It is not complicated, but it's not going to be possible for me to do it tonight, because what I need to do on the saw table is I need to cut a nice piece of faced chipboard. I've got some faced chipboard. Faced because it doesn't, plaster doesn't stick to it, which is why I want to use it. And I will put a piece of faced chipboard along there with the face facing that bit, and then we'll push plaster in and let it go off and create a nice square edge. Lower down, yeah, that's not going to be so complicated, but I can't really do anything with that tonight. But I can throw a bit of plaster on down there. Well, I used a little bit of plaster. You can see the damp patch. That went on very, very nicely, and of course I reached round when I scraped the last plaster out of my basin thing. I reached round for the next one, because a good plasterer's labourer keeps an eye on his plasterer, and just as he's about to use the last, he sticks the next bucket under his hand and the plaster just carries on. What was my plasterer's assistant doing? I don't know, but there was no plaster. I'm going to have to mix my own, aren't I? Well, that actually took a lot of plaster. There was quite a big depression about there. but I'm actually very happy the way this is going on. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. The object tomorrow morning will be to finish that bit, cut a bit of faced chipboard and make a mould, and well, we'll see if we can get that done tomorrow. You know, God willing. This is a sort of bit of a reveal. This is what that concrete pad was for. And some of you are going to say, wow, look at that. That's an amazing piece of furniture. You can't put that in the barn. Well, can't you? This particular piece of furniture was in the house, and it was so well loved by the previous owners that they just left it there. And it's one of those pieces that I expect when it was new, it was probably an obscene amount of money. And no doubt in the showroom it was incredibly impressive. You know, a dresser with glass doors, and what a wonderful thing. When you then decide that you want to move it, or it's not really quite where you want it to be, you discover that, like a lot of, I don't know, 1970s, I would suggest, furniture, it's cheaply made, it's principally chipboard, it's got a few problems that flow from it being chipboard, like some of the screws that hold some of the hinges have sort of not really survived the test of time. And to be honest, it was, if I can't find something to do with it, it's going to be firewood. That's how lovely this is. Well, it won the firewood or use me debate, and yeah, it will be a good place for me to keep spare parts for Skodas or something. But yes, it's nicely out of the way now. I can move a few things around and make better use of the space. Stuck all my pit props behind it. I actually hope I never need those again. I guess we could probably sell them, but they don't take up a lot of room, and the day that I want one in a hurry, it's good to know where they are. And the trouble always with having too much to do is some things you sort of leave until the next time, and then you realise that the next time never quite arrived. That wants some concrete in that corner. Yes. Yeah, okay. I think rather than mixing plaster and doing work in the bedroom, as my concrete mixing gear is here, and as I've got a bag of ready mix that I'm falling over, I will just quickly throw a bag of ready mix in there and